In 1976, a violent crime shocked a quiet American community. Police moved fast. The public demanded justice. And the justice system delivered a verdict. But it was the wrong one. For 47 years, an innocent man sat inside a prison cell, aging, watching decades pass, while the truth stayed buried in an evidence locker. His name, Leonard Mack. This is the story of how a single eyewitness mistake stole nearly half a century of a man's life, and how science, patient, silent, and unforgiving, finally told the truth. The United States in 1976 was a nation on edge. Violent crime rates were high, trust in institutions was fragile, and law enforcement agencies were under immense pressure to solve cases quickly. This was an era before DNA testing, before body cameras, before recorded interrogations were standard. Back then, eyewitness testimony wasn't just powerful, it was king, and that would become Leonard Mack's nightmare. In the summer of 1976, a woman reported being sexually assaulted and robbed in a violent encounter. The crime was brutal, traumatic, and it demanded accountability. Police canvassed the area. They gathered descriptions. They searched for suspects. And soon, investigators focused their attention on one man, Leonard Mack. Leonard Mack was not a criminal mastermind. He was a young black man living an ordinary life in New York City. A product of his environment, yes, but not a predator, not a rapist, not a violent offender. He had no reason to believe his life was about to be erased. Until the police knocked. The case against Leonard Mack hinged on one thing, an eyewitness identification. The victim was shown a lineup. She pointed to Leonard Mack. That was enough. No physical evidence tied him to the crime. No fingerprints. No DNA because DNA testing didn't exist yet. But in 1976, a confident identification carried enormous weight. Jurors trusted it. Judges accepted it. And prosecutors built their case around it. What no one stopped to ask was this: was the identification reliable, or was it influenced? Decades later, research would reveal a terrifying truth. Eyewitness identifications are one of the leading causes of wrongful convictions. Stress, lighting conditions, police suggestion, memory contamination, all of it can distort what a witness believes they saw. But in Leonard Mack's trial, none of this was discussed. The jury heard certainty. They saw confidence. And they returned a verdict. Guilty. Leonard Mack was sentenced to decades in prison. In that moment, his life split in two. Before prison, and everything after. As years turned into decades, Leonard watched the world change from behind bars. The fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the internet, smartphones, DNA science. And yet, inside prison walls, time stood still. Leonard Mack never stopped saying he was innocent. But innocence means little in a system built on finality. Appeals were denied, motions rejected, doors slammed shut. Friends aged. Family members passed away. Hope became dangerous. And yet, somewhere, locked away in storage, evidence from Leonard Mack's case still existed. Silent, untouched, waiting. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, DNA testing began rewriting criminal justice history. Men once deemed guilty beyond doubt were being freed. Convictions crumbled. Certainty collapsed. And organizations like the Innocence Project began reopening cold cases. Leonard Mack's name eventually reached their desk. The Innocence Project requested testing of preserved biological evidence. Decades old, fragile, nearly forgotten. Prosecutors hesitated. The state resisted. But science doesn't negotiate. When the testing was finally conducted, the results were undeniable. The DNA did not belong to Leonard Mack. Not even close. The genetic profile identified another man, someone already known to law enforcement, someone who had committed similar crimes. The truth was devastating. Leonard Mack had spent 47 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. In 2023, Leonard Mack walked free. He was in his 70s. The world he stepped into was unrecognizable. No phone booths, no handwritten letters, No familiar faces waiting outside the gates. Justice had arrived. But late, painfully late. Leonard Mack became the longest-serving DNA exoneree in U.S. history. Nearly half a century stolen by a single mistake. A mistaken identification. A rushed investigation. A system that valued closure over certainty. He received compensation, but no amount of money can buy back lost youth. Leonard Mack's case exposes the dangerous power of eyewitness misidentification, lack of forensic standards, a resistance to post-conviction review, and a justice system afraid to admit error. It reminds us that wrongful convictions are not accidents. They are products of choices. Leonard Mack lost 47 years, but his story saved others. Because every exoneration forces the system to ask a question it hates. How many more are still inside?